very fluid in the way you shift from one medium to another. Hello, once again, this is Waswo X Waswo, and today we're coming from New Delhi. Actually, we're coming from Gurgaon, and we're sitting with somebody very special, Manisha Gera Baswani, who in my mind is quite an incredible artist. She's very multidisciplinary, she does a lot of things, and I think would be very interesting to explore her journey today. So we're in her home, we're in her studio. At the end of this video, I'll try to put in some pictures from the home and the studio, but right now we're going to have our talk. So Manisha, how are you today?
I'm good, Vaswa. Good to have you finally home.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful art collection. It's just quite something. So I think we should start off. I know you had a real close relationship with the teacher and the incredible artist who I really admire, A. Ramachandran. So why don't we talk a little bit about that, your education and how A. Ramachandran influenced you when you were younger? Yeah.
So I look back and I feel I didn't get admission in so-called the right colleges, you know, and thank God for that. But when it happened, it was quite disheartening. And I just feel the universe has a bigger role to play than what you really think is the case. Because I got finally admission in Jamia Millia Islamia, a college, frankly, I mean, I have to say I hadn't heard of. And when I realized that I haven't got through the so-called prestigious colleges, and I was doing history at Lady Shri Ram College, and I realized that the admissions are open for Jamia, and I said, okay, let me do it, because I loved art and I wanted to pursue it. So yes, he came into my life because he was a teacher and also the principal. And it's a relationship which has continued. I mean, let me just say, I haven't left him, you know. He's somebody I constantly learn from, I constantly grow because of, and I feel blessed because they say in our philosophy that a guru comes to you if you want him or her badly.
You just curated an exhibition of his work, correctly, at Vadera, I think?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah? Yeah, so actually that was a very big honor for me. That I didn't think in his lifetime I will have such a big opportunity that I curate a show of his works. And yes, when he and Chameli ji did mention that we'd like you to curate his next show, I definitely was in for a very big surprise and a huge honor. So I did curate that show, and I feel it was a small step towards knowing him a little better from another point of view, from a different vantage point.
He's on my interview list, so maybe you can help me get in contact at some future day. I'd love to interview him because he's really one of my favorite artists. But I'm wondering because he started out as sort of a modernist, and then he switched over and he wanted to be very Indian tradition based, I would say, in the way he approaches his aesthetics. And I find that an interesting shift. But I think, I'm just wondering, is that true for your own work as well? Do you see yourself as being based more in Indian tradition or more of a modernist, or how would you describe yourself?
I don't know if I want to get caught in words. I definitely am very inspired by my base, by what I am, that is being an Indian, and that encompasses everything that is special about the country. Its culture, its miniature tradition, its philosophy. So I also studied at the Ramakrishna Mission as a young child. So for me, I feel when I look back at the way my art is progressing, I think I'm taking all that has made me me, and that includes everything special about India. But I have to say, I'm a very global Indian. So I love taking what I feel my heart touches.
So you have this interesting progression, and I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, but what you were just talking about, what makes you you. You also fairly recently did a series called Postcards from Home, which was very personal to you, I think, because of the experience of your parents. Do you
Yes.
want to talk about that just a little?
Yes, definitely. I feel it's been a very important phase of my life, and one which has made me look back at my childhood, my parents, and therefore my art, what I'm doing now. So both my parents are from pre-partition India, from what is now Pakistan, and I mean, I'm sure many of you know that I have been photographing the Indian art world in their studios now for actually 20 years. It was when I went to Pakistan in 2015 for a solo show of my paintings that I said, let me just go photograph the Pakistani artists. So if you look at it, I mean, I was not looking at a project. I was not looking at really doing something special. I was following my heart, which I always have. So when I was I was photographing the Pakistani artists, I heard stories which are akin to stories of my parents, of their home in Pakistan. I heard stories from that side of the border about their home in India. And interestingly, both sets of elders who I met call it home. It's
Right.
very beautiful, yeah. So it was really moving, it was very touching, and I came back and I said to myself, I have to do something. You know, not many of us have the opportunity to go to the other side of the border and receive the love we do and hear the stories which we hear in India. So I actually decided to do the whole project on WhatsApp. I feel
You did it on WhatsApp?
Yes.
Really?
I call
Oh,
it.
you're kidding me.
I call it the 6-lane highway,
Okay.
which doesn't need visas and passports. I just messaged friends who were now friends in Pakistan saying, "Tell me a beautiful story your parents or you have of the home which you lost in India," and I sent the same messages to Indian artists who I knew had a partition connect about what they felt was that beautiful memory of a home. And that's how I brought 47 artists, which is the year of India's partition, 22 from Pakistan and 25 from India together. So they're photographed by me in their studio, and they've written about the idea of home. And interestingly, Vaspo, that home has come into my recent body of work.
Ah, okay.
So,
okay.
so I never, there's a shift in
And
the...
your recent body of work is not photography.
No, it's not
So
photography.
you're very fluid in the way you
Yes,
shift from
I mean,
one medium to
so,
another.
Vaspo, let me just add, photography has always happened simultaneously. I mean, even now, if you tell me that I'm going to Udaipur for a holiday, I will carry my camera to photograph you.
Yeah,
So-
I've been demanding that,
yes,
actually.
so next, whenever I visit Udaipur.
Okay.
But so that photography comes, it comes along with me while I'm painting. Let me just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was such a horrible stage of Indian history when the whole country just got divided and everybody had to move from one side to the other. It's hard for me to even imagine
Yes.
that, but I've seen so much documentary work on it. So, to jump around again, you also have, in your early work, you had quite a connection with the Indian miniature
Yes.
and painting. Do you want to talk about that
Yes.
process or that relationship with miniature painting?
Absolutely. I still have, but it's not direct. So I have always been inspired by Indian and Persian miniatures. And my studio visits to Mr. Ramachandran is where it all began, because he has an amazing collection of miniatures, and he would show me, this is what I have and this is this school. And I saw myself taking it all in. It was when I worked with the Indira Gandhi Center for Arts with Dr. Kapila Vatsayan on a project called Geet Govinda, and its far-reaching influence of the miniatures, the literature, poetry, and dance on the Geet Govinda, that I looked back at a miniature tradition, because I was a graphic artist for that project. Okay. So I had to look up all the miniatures where the Geet Govinda has been painted, the various schools of thought. So it's almost like things started coming together, studio visits of Mr. Ramachandran's studio, Geet Govinda, my own love for miniatures. So earlier my works were very visibly miniaturesque, but I feel now it's the element of a miniature.
Well, I've seen some of your early paintings where you have like drapery hanging,
Yes.
and it almost reminds me of Nathdwara
Yes, absolutely.
compositions,
Yes.
with Srinathji in the
Yes.
middle or something,
Yeah.
But in what other ways, I mean, specifically, and maybe you can talk about certain paintings specifically and how it was influenced by
Natwara
miniature
definitely
painting.
has been one of
Natwara,
my
okay.
direct influences. You're right.
Okay.
Directly, I have just absolutely loved Natwara. Well, in say the Persian miniature, how the form goes beyond the border. So I've enjoyed the space of the border and the next. And interestingly, as I say it, I'm also reminded how the border has always played that role.
Yeah.
Now the border is coming in different ways, whether it's the partition border, but that aspect of a border has played a role. How a tree comes out of a hasya, so to say, you know. So, but you know, it's very organic. If you ask me what particular miniature made me do this, I won't have an answer. I just go by my heart. I see what I see. I mean, we went to Israel for an art camp, and I saw a beautiful book on the Jewish marriage contract. And I didn't know these marriage contracts are so absolutely beautiful. So they all painted with the you know names of the husband, wife, and parents. It's fantastic. So I'm open to things which touch me, but the detailed decorative element is definitely something which I'm drawn to.
Right.
If you see my house, you will see that element. You know, things are all over. It's not.
And I never really do this in these interviews generally, but I
yeah.
think we should do just a little informal walk through your house later,
Sure.
near the end of this.
Yeah,
because your house is so special. You can talk about your collection a little or something.
Thank you, Vas. Well, I think I'll call my house a studio in progress.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
It's
so
fabulous.
I go down, I pick up leaves, I pick up stems, you know, seeds. And actually, I'm also seeing them slowly come into my work. So, I mean, they had been around, but I see them entering my work.
And you might be hearing, as we talk, birds in the background. Manisha has this beautiful aviary, which we'll show you later, on her terrace, which is fabulous, with what kind?
Budgies.
Budgies in it,
yes. And just to add, people have asked me often, because I've done a series of feathers and I'm continuing to do them. People have asked me what came first, the birds or the feathers? And I don't know. I think it's instinctively, when you are going through a process, you also start seeing things around you. So I have a feeling the birds came first to our house, and then they became my bird paintings, and now they're becoming my pin drawings with the feathers. So it's all coming together.
Let's talk about your pin drawings for a second,
Yes.
because that's what you're working on now.
Currently.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind the pin drawings?
So my husband had a very big surgery, and obviously any surgery comes with it a lot of pain for the person who's undergoing the surgery and the caregivers. And I realized when I saw his healing, because literally he was cut open from here and joined back.
Right.
And the irony that you need to be cut to heal, and you need to be cut to breathe. And so I remember when I started painting, because it took me a lot of time after he was recovering, to get my act together and start painting. But I remember very vividly doing a pin drawing with 2 veins and 2 arteries. And it's actually, I don't know if it's coming in the frame, but I'll show you. It's right up there. It's the first foray of mine with a pin. And it came simply because I felt the paper is incised with a prick, and it breathes. And it heals, therefore. So it's just similar to how it happened in the case of my husband, and happens in life when you are inflicted with pain of any sort. Actually, it's possibly also the process of healing and becoming a new you, and breathing better and becoming beautiful. So that's how it started, with actually 2 veins and 2 arteries, and something as simple as that has become a very, very big body of work, which I'm currently on.
Yeah, sometimes I think that a lot of your work deals with pain and how the pain is transferred into something beautiful.
Right.
And I'm thinking about, like, even your installation that you did with postcards from home.
Yes.
You did it in the art fair, and then you did it at the Kochi Biennale as
Yes.
well. Why don't you talk about the installation of that?
Yes,
because you're very multidisciplinary, so I want to get that across.
So think of it this way: there are 47 postcards. each carrying a photograph of the artist I photographed in the studio, and at the back is their story of the home lost. And I was called to show it at the Lahore Biennale, and I was given the space, and I wondered how to show it. And I haven't done work with putting 3D objects in a space. So that's the beautiful thing, to keep challenging yourself. And I said, okay, it will be an installation.
It was at the Lahore Biennale.
Yes.
It wasn't at Kochi.
Also Kochi.
Oh, it was both.
So it was
Okay.
first shown at the inaugural Lahore Biennale, which actually the Kiran Nadar Museum, sponsored it there,
Okay,
which was
wonderful.
quite fantastic that you have an Indian museum sponsoring a project on partition at the Lahore Biennale. And I was given the place, and what came to my mind is actually wheat. Wheat is the staple diet of us Punjabis, on both sides of the border. Wheat in Punjabi is called kanak, and kanak means gold. So I felt, how about putting two sacks, a pair of sacks, and therefore a trail of sacks, one after another, each taking the weight of the other, each supporting the other, and they are filled to the brim with kanak, which is gold, which is what we harvest as two nations for our staple diet. And inside were those postcards. So
And the postcards were meant to be taken.
they were meant to
correct?
be taken
You could
back
take one
to
and-
their home.
Oh, back to their home.
Yes, so the
Okay.
idea that people could walk through this trail, and as they pick up the card, you automatically land up touching the wheat, which is in a way touching the soil of both the nations, and taking it back home. So that for me was a very poignant way to look at this project. But having said that, it's been shown now in 3 different formats, which means I enjoyed the fact that I could play with my project and show it according to this demand of the space and finances. So it's quite kind of malleable. But for me to show it in Lahore really was very poignant, because I would have elders just read the cards and break down, and they would just come and hug me, and they would say, we remember India. So that for me, the project has made me cry many times over, but it's not over yet. I want to do more. I want to take it to the next step. Of course, these things need funds. I haven't done it with funds till now. I've done it all myself, except when KNMA decided to sponsor it. But next year is 75 years of India's partition. So I have something up my sleeve. Let's see if I can do it, because for that I do need funding. But I just feel things happen. When you want it bad enough, it happens.
I think that I should open this up now to you. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about? This is one. Is feminism important in your art?
No, there isn't.
No, you don't go that direction at all.
I don't go that direction
I've never
at
really
all.
seen it, but I just thought you might.
No.
that.
I don't do that. I like to add about my photography project, which
yes,
is
do
Artists
that.
Through the
Okay.
Lens. So I saw myself documenting Mr. Ramachandran simply because I just felt he's a gold mine, and the world doesn't know. There's so much to learn from him. So this is when I was in college, and I would carry a video camera, a still camera, a dictaphone, all very expensive items which my parents very generously gave. So I started documenting him since 1992. But the process of carrying the camera became kind of very intrinsic to me when I went to meet my artist friends. So I would carry the camera to my friends, when we would go to their homes, to studios, and very organically I started photographing them, Vaspo. There was no plan, no project, but I just said, I have to capture these moments. It was only after 7-8 years that somebody actually said, Manisha, we just see you bending up, down, taking photographs. When do we see what you're doing? And at a certain platform for the visual arts, I showed around 100 images of artists. And that's when the art world and me realized that I've done something.
You did that as a collateral at the Biennale when you were teaching.
Yes, it was
Kochi, I
shown
remember.
by KNMA at Kochi
Okay,
Biennale,
yeah.
But that's much later. What I'm saying is I just went ahead and did the photography. So now it's 20 years of photographing Indian artists in their studios and creative spaces, because going to a studio is it's expensive for me to travel. So whenever an artist is coming to Delhi, or if I have to travel somewhere else, I make it a point to take an appointment with the artist. And initially, many friends were very apprehensive because I understand artists like to be in their space, they don't want to be photographed. But because I'm a fellow artist, I was given a lot of leverage. And a few friends who were still uncomfortable when they realized that what I'm doing is really, it's like an archive of the Indian art world. They themselves then gave in and said, okay, come, let's just photograph. And from that happened Postcards from Home.
Okay.
So,
Manisha, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to sort of give a non-ending because following this will be a little tour of the space. But thank you very much.
you,
Everybody
Aswin.
who's watching, please remember to like and subscribe to Evil O. But keep watching because there's a little home tour here at the end, okay?
Thank
you,
you, Aswin.
Manisha.
Thank
Wave
you.
goodbye. Bye. But we're not really waving goodbye. Okay, we're recording. Okay, Manisha, so this is the much promised home tour. Do you just want to show us your house a little bit and some of your art?
Yes, sure. I mean, my husband loves art, so he's the one who's the collector.
Okay.
I'm the one who paints, but we'll just show you artworks which we have been buying over the last 20 years, or the last 2-3 years we haven't bought.
Do you want to show us his artwork behind you right away, your artwork?
That's actually mine. That's my
Can we
work.
get a little closer to it?
This is made with tea water.
Okay.
You brew the tea leaves, and the more dark brown you want, the more darker the brewing is. And then you sun the tea leaves, remove the fungus after the few days of sunning it, and then you paint. So when I start the work on a blank piece of paper, I actually have a few bowls of brewed tea water of various, how do I put it, brown hues, so dark brown, light brown. That's how this work happens.
Okay, well, it's beautiful. And let's just take a walk over here. Can we see your budgies?
Yes, absolutely.
The budgies are so wonderful.
Yeah, we have an aviary which is going on expanding.
This is your terrace.
That's the terrace.
That's your terrace. Now look at this, how beautiful this apartment is. Isn't this gorgeous? There's Ganpat Mali. How are you? Okay. And where are the budgies, Manisha?
Yeah, we have almost there are almost 40 of them.
Oh my
and
God.
COVID has been very fertile for them. So I actually have had to make the aviary bigger because there were so many babies happening. And every day we have our breakfast right here, we have our lunch here, and there's so much of beautiful music to
Well,
be
it's
heard.
wonderful to sit at this table and look outside and see the budgies.
Yes, it is beautiful.
And listen
There's
to
no
them
doubt
singing.
about it. Earlier we used to have them in the house. Literally they would sit next to us on the table, go into the purse, but because they were expanding, there were so many of them, we couldn't have possibly taken care of them in the house.
Let's
So
look
I
at the
made an
Gopi
aviary.
Krishna.
Yes, come. So Gopi is one artist. We
You really like
absolutely-
Gopi
I
Krishna.
do
So do
like
I.
Gopi a lot. That is his beautiful canvas.
I hope to interview him someday. I used to own a Gopi Krishna myself.
Yeah,
Well,
he
back.
is an
This is
amazing
beautiful.
artist.
He's just amazing, yes.
Well, we have bought.
He
a lot-
doesn't get the credit that he should get.
Yes, he is an
Gopi
amazing
Krishna.
artist. But knowing Gopi, he's unperturbed.
He's unperturbed.
He's doing it because he loves doing it, and that's what artists ideally should be doing. You know, you love it, that's why you do it.
And you have another Gopi Krishna in
Yes,
there too, I know.
I have to be very careful with these little things. Should you not trip?
I know you have a wonderfully unminimalist home. I don't like those minimalist home where they don't collect any art. I like bohemian homes that have lots of art. That's a beautiful Gopi Krishna.
This was a show Bose had done of the Kerala artists. I mean, he does a second show now.
Oh, I remember. That was the traveling show?
Yes, so
It
this is
traveled
what
to
I
a couple.
bought from-
I saw it when it was in Mumbai.
Yes, so this is bought from.
I tried to buy something in Mumbai and that whole show was like sold out by the time
Oh,
it
really?
opened or
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
He
that.
did a fantastic show, and I wish him well as we go live on this. He's doing the next show starting in a week from now.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a peek in your studio or in that
Yes.
other room.
Yes,
Should
yes,
we do
come.
that?
Yeah.
This way you're going to lead us?
I'll take you.
Okay.
This is the wall of all the old paintings.
All the old paintings are here. You have old paintings above your,
Yes, yes. And just to share, that's
all those up there too.
Fulkari, which is a very, it's a Punjab embroidery. It's made by my great grandmother for my
It
grandmother's
is?
wedding.
Really?
Yes.
That's the one we were sitting in front of during the
Yes,
interview.
yes. So this actually has traveled from Pakistan during partition. It reached here.
Wow.
My mother gave it to me, so it's very precious.
No, indeed, that's very precious. That's a true family heirloom.
It is.
I love this room. I love your Jerem Patels on the wall. Those are wonderful. Those two Jerem Patels are very nice. And who's up above here?
That's Tanmoy on the right.
Okay.
Left is Anupam Sood.
Anupam Sood.
And you have Jyoti Bhatt, you have Lakshma.
Okay.
More Tanmoys, Chameli Ramachandran.
Who's this one again? Tanmoy.
Tanmoy.
Oh, yeah.
Tanmoy
I like that work a lot.
Yes. That's my friend Atiya Shaukat. She's from Lahore.
Okay.
Atiya actually, unfortunately, had a fall and she's paralyzed waist down. So her whole
horrible.
body of work is all about what she goes through. So you will see, this is actually the socks she wears every day. You know.
Oh, okay.
So this is all about her feet, her...
Looking down at her
Yes,
feet.
yes.
But she can't walk anymore.
No, she can't.
Oh,
It also
God.
that's her other work.
What a nightmare. Well, this is incredible. Thank you for being so generous to show this to us. This is really nice. And let's just take a quick peek in your studio,
Yes.
then we'll end this. I know you have things you're saving that are supposed to be secret, like most artists have.
But
So,
that's where I paint.
okay.
I
Right
have-
here is where you paint.
Yes, so this is where I paint. I also paint by putting works on the pin drawing because I had such a bad cervical with bending and painting that I decided to oscillate between working with my head bent and also with I pin my works on this and then I paint.
And then
So-
this is all that very detailed pin work.
These are the pin drawings. The work is inside actually. The work is
This is a covering to keep the paper clean.
Yes.
Yes.
So the work lies between the two bubble sheets. This, yes, I can give you one idea about this. So this is actually how.
I love anatomical drawings. I just
this,
love them.
So between these two is this work. I'll just.
Oh, it's coming in and out in white behind here.
Yes.
Oh, is that amazing? That's going to be gorgeous.
So this is painted black, but I pin it from the back, and this is actually paper pulp.
Okay, coming through.
Yes. So it's between these two paper sheets, butter paper, that the work actually happens.
Happens.
And there's a lot of
So as
element
you're
of-
working on it, you don't really see it.
No,
as
so
you
there's
know.
a lot of element
There's
of
a little
surprise.
element of surprise
Right,
here.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I think we should probably wrap it up. Now it'll get too long. Okay, Manisha, thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
join us next time for Evil O. Bye.